Hey everyone, Aaron Lovejoy here from Miniature Monthly, and today I am super excited. I finally get to retire my prototype Reaper Vex. Um, as some of you may know, I've been working with Badger Airbrush Company for the last probably almost 2 years now, developing a new airbrush that works great for miniature painting. And this is it. This is the Vex. But this is the prototype Vex. As you can see, it's pretty well used. It's seen some better days, but it still works like a rock star. And today I received in the mail the brand new Reaper Vex. Now this is super sexy, jet black with the Vex logo, Reaper logo, but more importantly, it just works. It works really good, or it should work really good. I haven't tried it yet, so let's see what happens. I'm going to be running today. I'm just going to run through some Stynylrose primer, because we all know primer is probably the thickest paint, the most difficult paint to spray through an airbrush. I'm also going to be running through some bright skin tone from Reaper Master Series colors. So we'll run through some standard acrylic colors, and then we'll also run through some Liquitex inks and some Daler-Rowney inks, just to see the difference. And the really neat thing about this airbrush, the one main thing that I told them when they were developing it was I wanted an airbrush that would replace my high detail airbrush and also replace my general purpose airbrush. I wanted it to both be the same airbrush. And if they couldn't do that, to not bother. So this is what they came up with, and I think it's a fantastic airbrush. So let's see how it works. I'm going to start by spraying some white primer on this dude, this Reaper Bones figure. And as we all know, priming Reaper Bones can be a little bit tricky because if you use certain rattle cans, will turn them into a slimy sludge, super sticky. So I tend to always airbrush on my primer with these miniatures. So let's move some of these other minis out of the way so I don't hit them. And let's see what happens when I put some of the Stynylrose primer through my airbrush. So the way the airbrush comes, it comes with the high detail needle already in it. It's a black needle. I actually prefer, for myself, the general purpose needle. And I find that it works for all three things perfectly. For primer, acrylic paint, and the inks. So I get good enough detail with all of them, and I have far fewer chances of clogging. So got that needle in there. This is the standardized size needle. I'm going to pour a little bit of the Stynylrose primer in here and see what happens. So always test spray on your hand there. Now I always put a light spray over the top, and I'm seeing I'm getting pretty good, nice smooth coverage. I tend to use short controlled spurts, and that helps for not only spraying precisely, but also not getting too much speckling and stuff in between sprays. So I'll just start bringing this up. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Builds up very quickly. Nice smooth finish. You can see I can really be precise with where and how my highlights are laid down. This is actually super awesome for me because you never know when you go from a prototype to the production piece if it's going to be as good as the prototype was. And already this thing, I absolutely love the way it sprays. The prototype will be going in the trash bin. Actually, probably not in the trash bin. It'll probably go in my shelf of shame. All the little doodads that I've picked up over the years. I think this was a really cool project to work on, and I'm really glad that Reaper picked it up because Reaper is a very solid company, and let's face it, they needed an airbrush. They needed to move into the modern age of airbrushing, and in my opinion, they have the best airbrush made right now for miniature painting. Maybe for regular painting too. I don't know. I don't paint shoes or tapestries or anything, but that's solid. I'm digging it. Built up colors really quick. It's a smooth finish. Very, very nice. I'm going to check my dry tip. Not too bad. So the difference between the Vex and other airbrushes, or other Badger airbrushes even, is not so much the external, it's the internal. The internal workings have been reworked, remastered to, let's say, clog less. And also, depending on, it doesn't matter which needle you put in the airbrush, it fits the same nozzle. There's one nozzle for both needles. Very, very nice touch. I know I've had problems in the past. You know, you switch your needle out and then you forget to switch the nozzle, or you lose the nozzle for that needle. It's always a pain in the butt. This one, it just doesn't matter. It's all the same. So you can also get very fine detail with this brush by pulling back just a little bit, or bigger sprays by pulling back further. I find that no matter if I'm spraying these primers or regular paints, it sprays perfectly no matter what with the small sprays. So it's doing very precise, detailed sprays with a very large needle. And I love that because I'm going to clog less, all those good things. Only good things can happen when you're not clogging. So, all right. So that's the white primer. I think it went on fantastically. I'm going to take some of this out, do a color change, and we'll be right back. All right, so now I've got my airbrush loaded up with Reaper's Bright Skin. It's just one of their standard acrylic paints. And let's see how that goes through the Vex. This is also the larger general purpose needle. Almost can't see it on my skin. So I just start spraying this on. You see over my zenithal prime, it looks really nice. It's going on super smooth. So a couple things that I enjoy having the larger needle. You don't clog nearly as much, and you can run much thicker paint through it. So your paint ends up covering much better. But I'm still getting really good detailed shots. I'm getting really good coverage, as well as my precision can be very good as well. See how many times I can say as well. All right. I'm already super, super happy with this. This airbrush. This airbrush is friggin' fantastic. I am so stoked. In more ways than one. I mean, it's always good seeing some ideas come to fruition and that they work. But also, I have a fantastic airbrush. I love this airbrush. I already love it. I mean, granted, I've been spraying with something similar to it for almost 2 years now, but it definitely does not disappoint. This is just amazing. Super cool. All right, so now we're going to switch out this acrylic and we're going to put some inks into here, and again we're going to use the exact same needle. All right, so now we're going to put some of this Liquitex titanium white ink through here. And so usually with my inks, I'm trying to be more precise. I'm trying to put small little highlights and stuff like that on models. I've got this this undead saloon girl here from Shadows of Brimstone. And I want to, this is a zenithal prime model, just like I've done over here, but I want to add a brighter white highlight to it. So, but I only want to put it in spots. So maybe on the head, maybe the shoulder, maybe the top of her dress. That type of thing. So I'm going to come in real close. Just bring up that highlight just a little bit. Trying to be very precise in tiny little areas and just bring up that highlight. Boom. Like it. Try it on the back of her as well. This is a little bit darker, so you'll see it a little bit better. That is very, very tight detail for a needle that large. So depending on how far I pull back on the brush itself, that'll make the dot bigger or smaller. Quite a bit of control here. Sweet. So I just sprayed primer, acrylics, and inks all through the same airbrush, and got really, really good results with all three. That's one thing that is such a selling point for this airbrush, for me at least, is that you don't need a couple of airbrushes. You just need the one. Now I'm going to clean this out real quick, and I will show you on the big ogre dude, if you were to apply, say, some purple ink, just do a couple drops there. All right, so if I wanted to add a little bit of color interest, we've got some nice yellow tones in his stomach here. So let's say we wanted to add some purple into that skin tone. I could come in with my airbrush and just lay in ever so slightly that little bit. And notice I'm not worried about taping stuff off, masking off my figure. I can have really, really good control here. Put a little bit in his face. Right up there. What if we wanted to put a little purple reflection on the bottom of the shield here? And see, I have really, really good control. And this is with the larger needle. Pull my airbrush back a little bit, and I can fade that purple across his stomach there. Very cool. All right, let's try. Let's just try putting a different color in now. So that was the purple. Let's switch it out. We'll put a little bit of this phthalo green blue shade in. Again. Just subtly. Just that little bit of color. Looks really cool. Love it. So you see how quickly you can enhance your models, the look of your models, even after they're done being painted. You can add some of these cool little colors with the Reaper Vex. It's a all-in-one airbrush. You really don't need anything else. You can do your primers, your acrylics, your inks, everything goes on perfectly with this. And you get really good detail, even with the larger size needle. Anyways, I've got to get back to work. These commissions don't paint themselves. If you want to watch some really good videos on airbrushing and different applications of the airbrush, painting armies, painting display figures, all that stuff, I've got a lot of good stuff over at Miniature Monthly, so check it out. All right, that being said, talk to y'all later.